night, Indiana Pacers, Denver Nuggets going under. That went well under. No Halliburton worked out well for us in that game last night. Currently no bet out so far today. Massive slate. We're going to go through the whole thing, give you guys our reads, leans, and sides. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe below. Help us grow this thing a little bit. John, bit of a crazy night in the NBA. As always, Portland, after losing to the Thunder twice by 105 points this season, almost pull off the upset. And then one of the craziest turnarounds with double techs, allow them to tie up the game, and then they get a game winner. Crazy game there. Knicks take care of business. Really good job by Vegas last night. Knicks right on the number, Nuggets right on the number, Clippers right on the number. Those three games, Vegas lines very sharp.
5 games last night. 3 of the games, as Ben just said, this is why we don't have bets right now. The lines are sharp. Denver closed 5. That game landed 5. Knick game closed 3.5. That game landed 5. Clippers closed 9.5. They land 11. I mean, literally all by a bucket or right on the number. And again, we bet when we see an edge, and we just did not see edges, as we don't today. Another tough card. We pay attention to the half times. Always seeing it, looking if they're a bet. Ben even gave you guys a bet last night that had great value. Just missed
so close.
Plus 800. Not many plus 800s out there, but Ben gave you a D-Lo last night. Just came up 3 points short of the magic 30. Looks like the legs went on a little bit on him. 40 minutes he had a log without LeBron. But that's about as close as he got. So great value in that one, but real tough numbers. We saw one hole, and that hole is with no Halliburton. Pacers are just a different team. Denver Nuggets, they play some defense, and that game, that total could not be at 238.5. And once again, the only way it could even had a shot to go over was overtime, which was getting a little scary if Jokic doesn't hit that 3. Had a shot to go into overtime. But we'll take that W, and we'll take what you give us. We got our one NFL bet for the weekend. I like one game today. We'll give it to you as we go down the rundown. Haven't bet it yet because we're waiting on injury information. And at this time of the year, not only are we waiting on injury information, but from now till February 8th, the trade deadline, a shoe could drop at any time. No. Every time I see a movement against the Wizards, I'm like, okay, did they just get rid of Kuzma? If we see the line back up off Atlanta, is DeJounte Murray gone? This is the way you have to think right now. Not only that, obviously, you guys that have been with us know this is what the NBA is in 2024. I would have laid the Thunder this morning when the line had gone down to 6.5. The Sharps they looked like they phoned it down to 6.5. But I don't know if SGA gets a night off in a back-to-back.
Right.
This could be a prime spot for him going into San Antonio. So this is what we have to wait for. This is what we're faced with right now. With that being said, Ben, let's although if you want to talk more about last night, so we talked about that Portland OKC game.
Crazy.
Wow. You know,
it is getting what is that called? Protested or
they're going to protest the game.
Yeah.
And you know, I've already heard the guys fix the NBA, but well, the line was 14. So and it wasn't a money line fix to get OKC to win, just more stupid shit happening. And I'm going to go back a couple of nights ago to that Charlotte, Minnesota game. For you guys that don't know, the NBA reviews the last 2 minutes of every game. There were 10 missed calls in the Minnesota-Charlotte game just 2 nights ago when Charlotte I know this is what gives reason to the guys, it's fixed. But again, that's a 14-point spread. So you're not going to cover that, and you're not laying money lines if you follow the meaning. So a couple of ugly referee games, and I've been saying it forever, guys, as they do in baseball. Some of these refs are just bad. And some you're just going to miss some calls. Some of them have some biases, but again, no grand scheme. But yeah, giving Billups a double tack. Look, part of it's Billups' fault. I mean, you can't get on the court. You can't come on the court. You could be mad about a call a lot, but you can't come on the court and basically give the game away. That was a tough one for them to blow, but really they fought back and fought OKC great. Look, Letdown game. Thunder was just coming off the win at Minnesota, remember? And here comes a team that you've beat twice by 105 points. This is one of the trends we use, letdown game. The only reason we could not bet this game, the line could have been 16 as far as the ratings were. Plus, you had an OKC that has absolutely owned them. 9-1 the last 10 or 10 straight 9-1 against the spread with 2 at 105. So, yes, this is the NBA right now. Let me just pick up this info, Ben.
Yep, NBA's been crazy, and that's going to end up being this top game here. That same Minnesota team now going on a trip to Washington. Obviously there was the post-game press conference with Finch talking about how they disrespected the game, this and that. Apparently, the players were asking the assistant coaches how many points Embiid had at that point so they could help Cat pass it. So they weren't even worried just about Cat getting a high number. They were also worried about trying to beat Embiid, trying to beat another thing while trying to play a game just crazy. So I'm interested to see what Minnesota team we get tonight in Washington. Is this going to be one of those where, unhappy locker room, which we're going to talk in a little bit about the Bucks, but could this be one of those situations? Is this one where they come out, play a chip on their shoulder? Wizards have the success. 7 straight meetings they've won and covered. The last 3 in Washington, an average of 13 points. Are they going to be able to come up again in this? I mean, it's Wizards or nobody based on the number. What Minnesota team do we get tonight, John?
Yeah, 7 straight in this matchup. Wizards is just one of those quirks. They've played well in the matchup, winning both last year and winning by 15 in Washington last year. So just the information I just looked at, Conley just added to the injury list for the Timberwolves with an illness. He missed the last game, but we thought that was more of a just resting in a second half of a back-to-back. So they just posted Conley questionable with an illness. Remember, in that Charlotte game, it was Edwards who was questionable with an illness, right, and had a subpar game. That's why Cat took over. So when we start seeing illness, one guy got it, now the next guy got it, you start to think it's running around the clubhouse, running through the clubhouse. Minnesota coming off that brutal loss, an 18-point lead to squander that lead to the Charlotte Hornets, really? So they've got their work cut out for them going to Washington as a double-digit favorite. They also play tomorrow at Brooklyn, so you could have some guys getting a rest on the front end. This is Washington or nobody.
And then we have the other half of that crazy game the other night. Hornets now going on to Detroit. John, you just mentioned the letdown it was for OKC coming off the big win against the Timberwolves. Got to be something similar here for the Charlotte Hornets going out, beating a 1 seed, down 18 in the fourth, coming all the way back, get it done. Charlotte this year after a win, just 1-8 straight up, 3-6 against the spread. Pistons, they're playing okay ball right now. They're 1-4 their last 5, but they covered each of those 5 games, so they're playing within the number. As far as the matchup history, they did beat the Hornets earlier this year in Charlotte. Hornets, though, 8-1 straight up, 7-2 against the spread. Last 9 trips to Detroit. Just love this spot here for the Pistons. You have a team who's coming in. They've only won 2 games in a row all season, or once all season. And then you have Terry Rozier, who they added into the mix. He gets traded to Miami, so they're down a piece. Coming off a game, they upset a 1 seed on the road. Detroit's been at home, staying at home, and they get Cunningham back. Love the spot here for Detroit today.
Yeah, what Ben said, except for the fact that Hornets have won 8 of their last 9 trips, covering 7 of those 9 at Detroit. So that's the only thing that stopped me from betting the Pistons in this one. Everything else says Pistons. I answered one of our guys in the chat. He said the ratings make sense to take the Hornets, and they would. But the ratings, we have not added Cade Cunningham yet. It'll be his first game back. He's expected back. Always remember, until he gets on that court, anything could happen, being out 7, missing the last seven games. But again, that's the start. Detroit's been home for over a week now. Their last road game was a win at Washington. 3 losses, but covering the Timberwolves and covering twice against the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that's absolutely on them. So they've picked up their pace. Now, when the star comes back after missing a bunch of games, does it upset the flow? Detroit's actually covered their last 5. So does Cunningham hurt or help? All that remains to be seen. Would have bet the Pistons in this spot. And look, when we talk about the overnight line was a 1, but this game has gone up to 3.5. Just couldn't buck the trend. Charlotte, as I said, winning 8 of their last 9 trips. We'll wait to see how both these teams play. Detroit getting Cunningham back, and now Charlotte with losing Rozier. In the trade, Lowry's not even going to play for them. Not only tonight, he's not going to play. They're looking to move him.
We got Grizzlies at Miami. You got Alabama. He's going to be out. Memphis just keeps dropping bodies left and right. They're coming off a nice game where they win at Toronto. Jackson had a pretty solid game there. And then you had this Miami team who is now going through some woes. They just lose to the Magic in Orlando. They've now dropped 3 straight. They're scoring just 97 points per game in those 3 games. And that's partially why they go get a guy like Terry Rozier. They need some offense. They're still didn't fully recoup what they lost last year, what they got out of guys like Vincent and Strus, and they're hoping to get something similar, I guess, in a role here for Rozier, maybe a little 6-man off the bench. So going to be interesting to see how that works. He's still questionable here. As far as the matchup history, Heat won earlier this year in Memphis. They split meetings last year. Really, 2 teams not playing the best of basketball right now. It would be a lean to the Grizzlies. Big number here for the Heat. Yes, the Heat win games at home. They just simply don't cover. And got to see what's going on with Rozier, but Grizzlies are nothing in my eyes.
So they don't cover. 8-12 against the spread this year. Had the second worst against the spread record at home last year. Grizzlies, for as horrible, and they've been horrible as they've been, they're 7-4 straight up and against the spread. Their last 11 on the road with a win, coming off a win at Toronto. But this is the 4th and final game of a road trip, coming off that big win going into Miami. Now, again, total on this one, first of all, sitting at 212.5. So a 9.5 point favorite at 212.5 is a lot different than a 9.5 point favorite at 240. We expect a game in the low hundreds in this game. So again, it's going to be Memphis or nobody. As far as the total, my number on this total was 210.5. And I want to bet under in the worst way, but they're there. 212.5 on a total, just 2 points off. Need to be a little bit more than that. The reason I want to bet under, 3 of their last 4 meetings have gone under. 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone under, but 8 of the last 9 in Miami have gone over. With that, Miami's just playing straight out under ball. Last 6 have all gone under at an average of 200.6. As Ben told you, they're not even averaging 100 points over their last few games. And Grizzlies, they're averaging 216.7 this trip. So I wanted to go under. They just didn't make it generous enough. If they get Rozier, I don't expect him to play yet. We'll see. He's questionable. But if he does play, that's only going to take the total up a little bit more. So too tight. Memphis or nobody in the game, under or nobody, but sometimes it's just nobody.
And we have Portland at Houston. Blazers coming off that crazy game last night against the Thunder. Couldn't pull it out. Billups gets ejected. Then you have this Rockets team who's coming off a loss against the Celtics the other night. They did hang within the number. They're just 3-7, 2-8 against the spread. Their last 10, not playing great basketball right now. Portland had their number last year, but obviously different Blazers team, different Rockets team. So tough to take this matchup history with too much weight. Would be a lean here to Houston. I'm interested to see how the Blazers show up after this. They were getting killed on the road prior to that game. They still really are 1-12, 4-9 against the spread. Their last 13. Would imagine that this game here may have a little bit of a letdown feel to it. I mean, going into now the 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, playing them 2 to the nail like that, would be a lean here to Houston. Big number. We'll look for a better one at halftime.
Okay, so before I get into that Houston Portland, just as we were talking about, they've just come across Cade Cunningham now downgraded to questionable, and that's how quick maybe the knee didn't respond. So Cunningham, we were expected to make his return tonight and still may, but he has been downgraded to questionable. Guys, injuries is the key, and that's why they're watching the podcast. We love you guys that are watching the podcast, but really, unless you remember getting up-to-the-minute updates with injuries, especially at this time of year, not only injuries, but especially at this time of year trades, you just got to have them. So Cunningham questionable. We'll keep our members notified what's up on that end. Portland, Houston, Portland coming off a tough game. So not only it's back-to-back, but it's 3rd and 4 for them. And that's a tough L last night. That was a winnable game. What am I looking at now? I'm now looking at Portland 1-12 on their last 13 on the road. The only thing is they've had success against Houston, swept Houston last year. Houston, a little bit of a different team last year, but have also won their last 3 meetings going into Houston. My ratings make the number a little higher, especially back-to-back and 3rd and 4. Let's see if Portland sits anybody. Houston starving for a win. They got such a great start. Rough time. Their last game out, that was against Boston. They've dropped 6 of their last 7 straight up and against the spread. So not looking to lay double digits with them either. Another game, we'll just sit and wait for lineups on this one in case anybody else is sitting out.
Then we have the Cavs at Milwaukee. I love the spot here for the Bucks today. You have the Cavs coming in, nice big win against the Orlando Magic. They're hot as ever, 8 straight, 7-1 against the spread. They're allowing just under 99 points per game during this stretch. Been great on the road as well, 4-1. They have a Bucks team coming off a pair of wins against the Pistons. They're not covering, but they're winning games. They're 5-1 their last 6, 1-10 against the spread their last 11. And yeah, I'm looking at them to cover the 6.5 today. They fired Griffin yesterday. And it looks like Doc Rivers is going to be the replacement, which is just weird. But when you have a 30-13 team, second best in the NBA, and your first-year head coach, you haven't even seen him through a playoff series. You can't judge an NBA coach till you see him in a playoff series. Haven't seen that yet. That means your locker room is extremely unhappy. Bucks are the oldest team in the league. They have a lot of vets. That means a lot of guys speaking up, not happy. Giannis not happy. I'm excited to see a guy like Giannis tonight playing with a chip on his shoulder. You look at the matchup history against the Cavs. Last 2 meetings in Milwaukee, Bucks won them both by double digits. They just beat them by 40 last week when Giannis sat out. This is a perfect spot. And as hot as the Cavs are, you have Cleveland, who's won 8 straight, but the only 2 teams they beat that were above 500 were the Bucks without Giannis and the Orlando Magic, who've been falling. So this would be Bucks or nothing all the way for me in this one. I like this spot tonight.
And I see everything that Ben's talking about, but I just don't want any part of laying the Bucks, who are 1-10 against the spread their last 11, against the Cavs, who are 7-1 against the spread their last 8. There's the revenge. There's a whole lot of stuff, but we've got a team here. We got a ship with no rudder. Who's gonna coach this team tonight? We don't even know. 30-13 to get fired. That's obvious. He when you lose control of the locker room, that's it. And this explains what Milwaukee's play. Look, the talent on that team, Giannis is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The talent on that team, you can't be in tight games with the Detroit Pistons, a team that you've owned for years. We just saw that. I think that probably cemented the deal. So how they'll come out today, under normal circumstances, absolutely. They've owned them at home. Milwaukee, they've won 9 of 10 meetings in Milwaukee, 8-2 against the spread. They've got the revenge angle. But again, as I said, Cavs red hot. They've turned up the defense. I don't even know how they're doing. I mean, I know they're doing it with defense, and the quality of teams aren't the best teams, but there's still a Brooklyn team, a Magic team, teams that can make the playoffs. A Miami team. Look, the Cavs are just getting it done. Not willing to lay those points. Who knows how Milwaukee's going to come out tonight? And Golden State's another game. We'll talk about it. Don't know how these teams can come out. I'm not in the thing of guessing. I want to have an educated guess. Can't make an educated guess on this one. So I'll wait and see how they play this first game with the coach fired, with Griffin out of there.
Yeah, in the NFL this season, Raiders, Chargers, Panthers, all after coach firing's got to cover. I'm excited to see if that same logic applies here to the NBA. Obviously, coach in the NFL means a lot more than it does in the NBA, but nonetheless. Next matchup, Thunder at San Antonio. Thunder back-to-back to get that win last night, scraping by now with Minnesota, first place in the West, but they have the head-to-head, so they got that right now. You have this San Antonio team who continues to cover with the numbers, playing pretty good ball, 3-8, 9-2 against the spread, though, their last 11 games. Wemby, he was terrific on the offensive side of the ball against Philly. I mean, they gave up 72 Embiid, so he had that problem, but 33 points on 10 of 19, pretty solid night in that sense. As far as the matchup history, I mean, Thunder, they've been taking care of business lately. Won and covered the last 4 meetings. They beat them, crushed them earlier this season, 123-87. This is a weird spot. What do we get out of the Thunder tonight? I mean, San Antonio keeps playing within the numbers, so it'll be a little bit of a lean to that. And the Thunder, after that crazy win last night, is there any little bit of a letdown? They have the New Orleans Pelicans next, so they're already looking onto that game. So tough game all around, staying away from this one.
Yep. Yeah. The ratings say lay OKC in this one, but they're back to back. After that tough game last night, they just came in not ready to play that game. Now they come up with that a last-minute win in that one, and they're now the top team in the Western Conference via having the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves. We've actually got 3 teams now tied at 30-13. The Bucks in the East, Timberwolves, and Thunder in the West. And Denver's actually tied with them, percentage points ahead, about Nuggets percentage points behind both the Nuggets and behind the Thunder and Timberwolves. So is there a little bit of a letdown back-to-back going to San Antonio? Does somebody get a night off? Remember, it was just last week in L.A., SGA questionable in both of those games. This is a team they basically own. They swept them. They absolutely destroyed them, 123-87 earlier this year. So, again, numbers say OKC, just not a great spot for the Thunder. I'll stay off this one. We'll be watching all these games tonight and looking for a spot more so at halftime when we get a feel how Milwaukee's playing without their head coach in the first game. Our Timberwolves are rebounding from an ugly loss and their coach calling them out. So we'll be looking at a lot of things, and we can get that feel while we're in game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. 3 teams with that 30-13 record. I think Finch and Domino are going to be in Coach of the Year conversations, and Griffin gets fired. But I guess that's the NBA for you. We got.
How about Milwaukee right now? They'll be paying 3 head coaches' salaries, still paying Buddenheiser.
Should have never got rid of him.
Griffin got a 4-year contract.
Yeah.
He worked for 3 months. And it looks like it's going to be Doc Rivers. I don't think it's solidified yet. I don't think it's a done deal, but it looks like it's going to be. I don't think he's going to be able to get there tonight, but we'll see. So yeah, Milwaukee's on the hook now for 3 head coaching salaries this year. It's like the Mets paying Scherzer and Verlander salaries.
Yeah, Doc Rivers, Mr. I mean, what is in the last couple of years underperforming with that Clippers roster, the Sixers roster. He's now been on the 3 top dogs.
Overrated coach, in my opinion.
100%.
That's all I want to get into.
People pleaser. That's all he is. He just makes guys happy, and no one complains about him, but he's not going to have success either. Next game, we got Suns at Dallas. Great matchup if everyone plays, and I hope everyone plays. I imagine this is a game Luka wants to be in. He's questionable. Kyrie, he left last game. He's still probable. Exum, he's questionable. So we got to see what's going on here with this Mavericks roster. Really hard to give you guys anything beyond that. I know John has a couple of looks on this game based on what we get injury-wise with Luka Doncic, who's worth every bit to the number.
Oh, yeah. Look, this is a game I've had circled since Christmas. I wanted Phoenix in the worst way. Remember a couple of years ago, playoffs, Phoenix, a number 1 seed. Dallas goes and destroys them in a game 7 at Phoenix, and they advance and knock Phoenix out. Now Dallas goes there Christmas Day and beats the Suns. Suns weren't put together. All of a sudden, Suns are finding themselves. 6 straight wins now for Phoenix. 2 of them phenomenal wins. Two wins coming back, finishing with against Sacramento on a 32-8 run, and then their comeback victory in their last game. So it looks like they're finally putting it together. KD, 2 40-plus point games in a row now. He's the man. Forget everything else. It's still KD. Everybody else could score, but it's still KD. When he scores, that's when they'll win. The question mark here is Luka. Does Luka play? Luka drops 50 in the Christmas Day game. Will he be in? I had Phoenix, but I'm not laying points with Phoenix. This should have been pick or Dallas won if Luka was in. Now it's 2.5 with him questionable. Also, I'm looking at the total. Everybody visions Phoenix, and it's Booker, it's Beal, it's KD, and you're thinking points, but the points are over-adjusted. So their last 4 now have all gone under at 230.8 points a game, but going under. They're trending under. You've got the Mavs, their last 2 got 233. In games that Luke is out, so Mavs are 2-2. No, let me get this right, guys. I'm sorry.
3-4, 4-3 ATS.
Okay, and they're scoring about 5 points per game. The games are scoring about 5 points per game less. So here's a game. Luka out, much like Halliburton last night. We'll be looking to bet the under. Luka in. If the game goes back to pick, we'll be looking to jump back on Phoenix again. It all depends on the injuries.
We'll wait to see where those injuries go. If you guys want that information to find out what we do, make sure you sign up on the app or the massaedge.com to get that information. Last game on the card, and to me, this is the hardest type of game to handicap. Hawks at Golden State. Whenever you have these emotional situations, or extended time off, I mean, it could be really good for a team. Golden State's had every issue under the sun this season, and this could be one of those things that brings them together, something they needed, or it could be the final straw that on the camel's back completely snaps everything. So how is this going to affect Golden State? Haven't played in over a week, so the extra time off, rust versus rest. I mean, just in recent events, I can think of many similar type emotional situations where it's gone really good, really bad. We talked about this. I think the last time we had was with Creamer a little bit in playoff baseball for Baltimore. Everything was going on in Israel. He had a really bad start after that. Kobe Bryant, when he passed away, Lakers lose that game afterwards. So kind of crazy stuff like that. What are we going to get out of Golden State with the coach passing today? As far as the actual stats in the actual game of basketball, you have Atlanta Hawks come in who just simply doesn't cover. 3-13 against the spread. Their last 16 on the road, coming off a bad loss at Sacramento. Still going to be without Trae Young. DeJounte Murray been terrific. Just a lot of questionables here that you can't really argue with stats. No idea what we're getting out of Golden State tonight. Could be a game for a halftime bet, depending on what we see.
Yeah, again, like I said, this is another game we're going to want to get a feel. My feel is Golden State. We've talked about it, guys. The dynasty is done. It's over. We're watching the demise. The death of the assistant coach. I mean, I think that's the final nail literally in the coffin, pardon the pun. Not only, they've been off now a few days, but now Golden State's going to have to push these other makeup games somewhere else. They're not a deep team to start with. You got some older guys in there. So if they get a lift, so to speak, from this, it's going to be maybe for the game only. Maybe they come out in a spurt. I just don't know how they'll come out. Again, this is a game we'll watch. For Hawks are just playing a whole different brand of basketball. Hawks were out there flying at a pace just under the Pacers, and all of a sudden, their last 7 games, it's a different team. Hawks now last 6 games it is scoring just 104 a game and allowing 112.7 points a game. So again, a totally different team. Now they'll be without Trae again, still get the concussion. As we're talking about many teams, DeJounte Murray, he's on the trade block. That shoe could drop any moment. We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, the main thing here, how does Golden State react to all this time off? And again, it's time off from the court, but you can imagine what these guys are going through with funeral arrangements and all that type of stuff. So again, if this is more of a head thing, can't get into anybody's head. We'll see how they play on the court. And so we'll be keeping an eye on a whole bunch of games tonight. The one bet we're looking pregame will be determined on Luka. And other than that, these numbers are tough. We said it, like I said last night, you had 3 of the 5 numbers either on the number or within a bucket. And that's the games we're going to stay off. We're not trying. We're no crystal ball here. When we see an edge, there was one edge. We bet it with the under in the Pacer game, and that game looked pretty much under the whole way.
And we'll be seeing if we can pick up some more winners tonight. We appreciate all you guys tuning in. As always, make sure you catch us every day, Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern. These get up by. Like, comment, subscribe below. John, I don't know if you have anything else here. Otherwise, let's make some money.
That's it. And check us out Mondays and Fridays. We're going to go live on Instagram. And if you have questions you don't want to leave here, you can always ask us. Tap in. If you're a long-time follower or a member, always welcome to tap in. And we'll be doing that Monday and Friday, noon Eastern on Instagram.
Make sure you catch us there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's make some money.
Let's make some money.